Okay, take care, Liv.
2nd of February, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
That's all about that.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Okay, so Bava Kama. Have to get back into our Bava Kama over here. This is our Bava Kama. First of all, we're gonna have to find where it is. That's the first thing. Where is my Bava Kama? Doesn't seem to be here. Oh, I know where it is. Just a second. I'll have to get it. Okay. Okay, so okay, once again, we're starting right in the middle over here. So far we got up to, last thing we did was on no, last thing we did was on Yom Shlishi. Elamai lohodu aviv lohode beno. That's what we ended up with, right? Okay, so remember we're okay, and so now we're gonna start with I'm not gonna go back to that. We're gonna go weiter with unachayev beno b'chomesh ashvua didei. That's where we're up to, and this can be found close to the bottom of 104b. Oh, yes, Alan. I just see that you're trying to get in. Okay. Okay. Baruch Hashem, Alan's in. Okay, so trying to understand this, we're trying to defend the answer of Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman said that the reason why what the case was that the father stole, he swore falsely, and then we're talking about the Hodah, which we said that okay, so now we're getting all the way back into it already again. Okay, so that's what we have to do. But just in 1 minute, let's try to get back into it. So what the Gemora is saying, up with what we have until now is that we're trying to explain why in this brisa the children do not pay for the chomish, but they do pay for the keren. That was the Gemora's question up until now. So far, what we said was that the father didn't admit that he stole, so therefore there's no chomish payment, not even for him either. And so therefore, when he takes leave of this world, the sons are not responsible for that chomish payment because it was never obligated to the father either. they did pay the Karen payment that the father never admitted, because the sons admitted to that payment. And so that's explaining why it was they did pay for the Karen that the father did not pay. So that's where we're up to at this point. And now the Gemora has a follow-up question on this explanation. Okay, so now we go to Unachayev. Okay, so Roy, you want to start reading? Roy, there? Yeah.
Benechayev Beino Chomesh Ashabua Didei. But in the case where he swore falsely, let the son be liable to the 1/5 surcharge on the account of his own false oath. It's a question.
Who swore falsely over here?
Looks like the son. In case where he swore falsely, let the son be liable to the 1/5 surcharge on the account of his own.
No.
Oh no, it may not be.
So he swore falsely. The son swore falsely about the father's being a goslin. Swore that he wasn't, and then the son admitted that the father was.
So the question becomes, what about the Chomesh?
So
Let's look, before the Brisa said you don't pay the Chomesh, so why shouldn't he pay the Chomesh? Let's see the Rashi on this on that phrase.
Okay.
This is the Rashi is Nechayev Chomesh Ashvua Didei, that he has to pay the Chomesh on the shvu that he made falsely. I do see what is the Bach change on it? Unechayev Beno Chomesh, and it makes Chayev. It's adding the word Beno. The son should be Chayev of the Chomesh.
Yeah.
And it's the Hani Nishbahu. It's taught that he swore falsely. The Aviv, him and his father, with the Torah, that they would be pater, the kaven de ben nishba, and since the son swore, the Hoda admitted, amai pater. Why should it be pater?
Okay, so Rashi is pointing out, because if you'll ask, who said that the son swore falsely? Why is the Gemara saying the son, let the son be chayiv because he swore falsely on his own? So he's being moted to his own shvua, so therefore he should have to pay for a chomesh, even though he didn't do the theft himself. So Rashi says because that was one of the cases that the Brisa brought down as being one of the cases that we say there's din. Diktani. If you take a look in the Brisa, one of the scenarios that the Brisa speaks out was who the Aviv.
Yeah, it was kind of like saying that the only time he has to pay is if both of them are involved. But if only one is involved, he'd be pater. So why not? The son admitted it. Why not?
Who the Aviv? Benayin. Where do we know? So they swore, they swore falsely in order to exempt the father of the obligation, and then the son thereafter admitted that he swore falsely. He admitted that he swore falsely. Okay, so on that, the Gemara is asking, let him be chayiv to pay the chomish, even though the father was never obligated to pay the chomish, but he's got his own obligation to pay the chomish because he did swear falsely and he did admit. So on that, the Gemara is going to answer.
I'll continue then.
Okay.
Mhm. The Gemara answers, Omare, they say, B'shein Gazala Kiyemis. The Brota deals with a case where the robbed item no longer exists, no longer extant. The Gemara objects to that.
Okay, let's get this Rashi and let's try to understand that. What difference does it make? Why does it means if it doesn't exist, that all of a sudden now, in that case, he wouldn't have to pay the chomish? What's the difference about that? So let me see if Rashi helps understand that. Because she'ein gezela is climate, that the robbed item still doesn't exist. The lav aleh, that it's not on him, rimya, l'shlomi. What is rimya to pay?
Rami, it doesn't, it's not put upon him. It's not placed upon him.
So it's not placed on him to pay. The Tan that we learned, and this is later on to come on, in Daf Kaf Yud Aleph on the base, a gozel. This is the famous thing that the robber and he feeds him umachil, if he robs the item and then he feeds it with it, and at benav he takes the item and then he feeds his children, his sons with them, are patorim. They wouldn't have to pay mishalmam from paying. Hilchov there, kafar kafirat devarim. If there is an atonement for these things, it's an atonement of words, ba'alma only, not of money. And the shvua and his oath is a betuihu. It's just an expression. The leka chomish, and an expression is only you don't pay chomish on. So it's a question of you only pay chomish on a physical object. And there's no physical object. It's only words here. So it gets him out of paying the chomish without the object being there.
Just wondering about what Rashi's saying over here. He's explaining why it is that the gezel is not extant, so therefore that's going to pater the sons from the chomish. We're talking. The more asked about the chomish, did not ask about the Karen. The more asked about the chomish. The Gemara had explained why he's paying the Karen and proving that he paid the Karen in the Brisa, even though he's not paying the Chumash. Now, Rashi's saying that the Gemara is saying that the Gezel is not anymore existent. It's not here. And so therefore Rashi brings a Gemara that says that Gozel Malchas Bonov, Peturim Milasham. The sons are putter on paying on what? Paying on the actual Gezel of the father. If the Gezel is not here anymore, then they don't have to pay it. They're putter. Maybe it's a mitzvah for them to be worried about the father's good name, but they don't have any obligation to give anything over here. They don't have anything in their possession that belongs to this nigzal. They're putter. They're putter to pay him from their own pocket. So therefore Rashi says hilkach ikafar. So therefore, if the son is going to deny the father was a Goslin, and he's going to make a shvut to that effect, if he's going to deny it, kfiris devarim ba'alma, it's non-consequential. His what do you call it? His kfira of the father's gezel doesn't affect his obligation at all. He's not going to be obligated to pay in any case. It's called kfiris devarim ba'alma, and if so, then the shvua that he's making is not a shvua that it's a shvua's bitui. It's a shvua about something that it's like saying that he made a shvua that this tree is a tree. He's not making a shvua that has any consequential effect. The shvua that has a consequential effect is like Rashi said before. That Rashi said, "Diktani nishba hu ba'aviv liptura." They made a shvua, and based upon that shvua, they're going to pater themselves from the demand of the nigzal that he stole from them. And if they make a shvua and say, "No, we did not steal from you," so then they're exempting themselves from the demand of the nigzal who's being tovei them. But over here, the sons are not going to be obligated. Rashi brought the Mishnah. The gezel is no longer around, so they're not obligated to pay for it. And so therefore, what's their shvua all about? That they're going to swear that the father didn't steal? It's a shvuas bitui. It's a non-consequential shvua. It's not patering them from anything because they're already pater. That's the point. They're already pater, like the Rashi brought from the Mishnah. Gozel umachal lebanim. Machal lebanim is the pshat that the gezel that he gazeled is no longer here anymore because the banim ate it, so it's no longer here. So they don't have to pay for it. They're going to be pater. They're going to be pater. So over here, he's swearing that the son is swearing on something that he's already in any case pater for. So you don't pay chomish on a false shvua like that. Okay. So where does that leave us in the Gemora?
Beishayin Gazala.
Oh, that's the Gemora's question now. Read the Gemora. Read the Gemora's question.
Beishayin Gazela Kayemes. If the brace is dealing with the case where the robbed item is no longer extant,
yeah,
Ilu Karen Nami Lo Mishalem, then the son should not have to pay the principal either.
Right? Like Rashi just told us from the Mishnah, Gozel umachal lebanim. The sons don't pay for that, and our brisa that we are trying to explain over here, the Gemora went to great lengths to show us that the sons are in fact paying for the gezel. We're talking about a case in the brisa, says the Gemora, that even though the sons are paying for the keren, they're not paying for the chomesh, and so now the Gemora is rejecting this answer. That we're talking about a case where the gezel is no longer extant, because ask the Gemara if that would be so then they wouldn't even have to pay for the keren. And the brisa says they are paying for the keren. We're talking about a case where they are paying for the keren. So this answer that the Gemara is answering that the gezel is no longer around is not going to work. Any Rashi on this?
Not yet, not till the answer.
Not till the answer. Okay. Lo tzricha. Says the Gemara, lo tzricha.
Lo tzricha the aki, no, the aka, asariyun, yus, and then in brackets, nechosim. The brace's ruling is necessary only regarding a case where there is real property in the father's estate. The
Let's read
Gemara,
the Ikka Achrayus. Okay, so now we're going to have to understand what this means. Ikka Achrayus. There is Achrayus.
all right. Ve'ika ve'ika achrayis.
Another question.
One second. Let Phil read the Rashi to this answer.
We got to get the answer to that question. What's the big deal about
Step by step. Yeah.
Why is the Achrayus talk about this? Okay. So Lo Tzricha, no, we really need this point because the Ika Achrayus, Nechasim, because there is in it the responsibility to pay property with it instead. But Amrinan, well, come on, this we say later on. This is all, a lot of this, all these arguments are happening later on about the feeding thing. The Im Haniach Aviyam Achrayah, if the father placed, a guarantee on it to pay. Nechasim, he guaranteed his properties to pay these things. Karka, which is like land, Chayavim. He has to give it back. Name kavod avim. Okay, so because of his father's honor and it's being held the property, they do have to pay it back because of the honor of the father.
So in other words, let's say the father stole whatever. He stole a car, and then it was totaled. So the stolen item is no longer around, and so therefore that's what the Mishnah in Gozel Lamachel, that's the name of the parak, by the way. Gozel Lamachel Lebanov, he stole and then he fed it to his sons. Maybe he gave the sons the car, and the sons, that's what they do. They like to have a nice time. So they went out and speeded around, and they totaled the car. And now, now this stolen car is no longer around. So now the sons, technically speaking, that's what the Mishnah says. They're not obligated to pay because the gezel is no longer around. But what? But now the Gemara is saying, nevertheless, even if the gezel is no longer here, the sons have consumed the gezel, and so it's no longer here. But they are going to have to pay Karen, and therefore they will be. There'll be there was a shvua that they made that shvua would have exempted them from that obligation to pay for the gezel, and the reason why they were here, even though they were there is an obligation to pay even though the gezel is no longer here, is because we're talking about Ika. There is in the estate that, right, the father is no longer here, so he left an estate to the sons, and there is in the estate Achrayas Nechasim. What is Achrayas Nechasim? That's referring to the karka. The karka is something that stands ready and able to pay for the obligation of the father. It doesn't. The sons don't inherit property free and clear. They inherit property subject to paying off the obligations of the father. And in this case, they're going to have to pay, says Rashi, in order to protect the father's name with this karka. So therefore, we're talking about that the sons do have an obligation to pay over here, and the only thing that's going to exempt them is a shvua that they made, that the father didn't steal. And so now, when they admit thereafter that the father, in fact, did steal, so they will be that's the Gemora's question now, why they should be we're now defending the Gemora's question that that they should have to pay if they did admit that they swore falsely. This is a defense of the Gemora's question that they should also have to pay for the Chomesh. The Gemora asked on this by saying, "What do you mean? If the item is no longer here, so they won't even be required to pay for the Karen?" And on that, the Gemora's answer is no. They are going to be having to pay for the Karen because we're talking about a case where they inherited karka from the father. The karka was not what the father stole. The father stole something else. But since they inherited karka from the father, so that karka will even though the stolen item is no longer in existence, the sons will be required to take that karka and use that karka to pay to the nigzal. So therefore they will be required to pay for the Karen. So therefore the Gemara is explaining that we're talking about a case where the sons will be required to pay for the Karen, like it says in the Brisa, but they won't be paying for the Chomesh. On that, the Gemara asks, 1 second, why should they not have to pay for the Chomesh? If they swore falsely that he stole, and then they admitted later on that they swore falsely, so they should have to pay for the Chomesh. Even if they didn't steal the item that the father stole. The father stole it. They didn't steal, but still they have to pay Chomesh in that case. So at this point, we're holding by a question. Why don't the sons have to pay for the Chomesh? The Brisa says they don't. Okay. So it looks like it's just Alan and Roy. Or Lou, would you like to read, Lou?
No, I'm listening.
Okay. So your eyes are bothering you.
Yeah, I'm taking these drops for my upcoming surgery.
Okay. Okay, refuah shlema.
Thank you.
Okay, so Roy, continue with the reading, please.
All right, then.
That's the question. That's the Gemara's response over here. This is on.
Is it Lo Tzaricha?
We just did the Lo Tzricha. We're on the next
Right.
one.
Yeah.
Question number.
V'chi Eicha Achareis Gevosim May Havei. And what if there's real property in a father's estate? What's the consequence of it? The article says the heirs should still not be liable to repay the principal from the estate, because for Milui al Pehi, the obligation to pay a robbery is analogous to that of an undocumented oral loan.
Oh.
Al Pe Eino Gova Lo Min Chayrashim Lo Min Halakos. And the law is that an oral loan may not be collected from heirs nor from purchasers.
Right. So in other words, it's getting a bit complicated over here. The Gemara is explaining. We have. Well, maybe does Phil have Rashi? Yeah. Let's take a look at the Rashi before we. Let's Rashi do the talking.
It says like, so what? And then now, what's this previous in Lamed Gimel? Lamed Gimel.
Lo Garcinan.
Okay, so we don't. Okay, so we don't do this. We don't Garson. We don't dispound that. Chada, the one, the ha tani, that this one 20, chasam here, the mishum kavod aviyam, because it's the value of its father, lachzir, to return the money. And that continues on the next page, that Rashi. It's a long Rashi, actually.
Okay, so let's just try to explain what Rashi has said so far. Okay, the Gemora is saying over here, the Gemora challenged this answer of, well, the sons they inherited they inherited property, and property is something which has achrayus. It's responsible to pay for obligations. And so therefore, since the father had to pay for this gezel, and the sons admitted it, I guess they admitted it, so they have to pay for that. So the property, even though they don't have the gezel anymore, but they should have to pay with the karka that they received. So because karka is used to pay for something that was maybe the father made a loan, the father made a purchase, father sold the property, and now so therefore they got to pay. So on that, the Gemara said, just Rashi says, don't logar sinin, don't these words of the Gemara should not be in the Gemara. But just for the sake of understanding, let's explain the words that the Gemara does have in the Gemara, in our Gemara. The Gemara says, so what that there's achrayus nechasim? Because because why? Because a oral loan you can't collect from property that was inherited to the sons, and also not to someone that purchased the property after the loan was made, because it's an oral loan, right? If the loan would have been a written down loan, then if the loan was written down, so then it was made into a shtar, a document. It has witnesses, and therefore the sons would be obligated to pay that loan with the karka, even though they don't have any money that they inherited from the father to pay for the loan, but they got karka, so they gotta pay. They gotta pay, because that's what it means. That karka is something which it's property that has responsibility. It's responsible for the debt of the father to the inheritors, and also the person that purchases property. Person that purchased property, he's purchasing the property subject to any liens that are on the property. So if there was a lien on the property, meaning that this guy borrowed $1 million and it was put into a contract, and there's witnesses that he borrowed this money. So if he's going to sell his property afterwards to avoid having to pay back the loan, because he's going to cry and say, "Oh, I got no money, I can't pay back this $1 million loan." So we say, "Oh, 1 second, this is a written down loan, and you know who's going to have to pay for it? The one who bought the property. And why is he going to have to pay? Because since that loan was written down and there's witnesses to it, before he bought the property, he should have found out whether this property has encumbrances or not. And here it had a lien. It had a lien of $1 million loan, that the property automatically stands as a security to secure that loan. That's why somebody writes down. That's how it works. A written down contract. Rashi says, "Lo garsinin all this Gemora. It shouldn't be part of the Gemora. Why should it not be part of the Gemora? The Gemora is bringing a good reason why he shouldn't have to pay, because here we're talking about an oral loan. We're not talking about a written loan. So in an oral loan, is the inheritors nor the purchaser would be subject to pay back that loan with the property. And who said it? I guess Art Scroll said it. And I believe Art Scroll, that the gezel is regarded as an unwritten loan. It has the status of an unwritten loan, so they can't use a price. They can't use the karka. They can't demand it from the sons. Rashi says to all of that the Gemora says that's not correct, because over here we're not talking about the Rashi says the reason why the sons are obligated to use this karka to pay for the gezel is not because it's because of the it's not because they owe it to the nigzal. It's to protect the honor of the father, and that's why they're doing it. So it makes no difference whether the gezel is regarded as an oral loan. Let it be regarded as an oral loan, and they have no official obligation to pay back with the karka for an oral loan. That's true. You don't have to pay back. You use the karka to pay back an oral loan, but here they're not paying because they got to pay. They're paying not because they got to pay that back. This get nigzal. They're paying because they want to honor the father, and because of the honor of the father, they're paying this. So therefore, they're obligated to pay. That's why Rashi says lo garcina.
In general, though, you have an issue that when you say, you know what they say about an oral agreement. An oral agreement is not worth the paper it's written on. You know, there really is zero binding in an oral agreement.
The paper that it's not written on.
Yes.
No. Look, there's a big difference. What's the difference? The difference is like this. If this guy can prove, if he could prove that the loan was made in the Bezdin, the fact that it's not written down won't be an impediment for him to collect if the borrower has what to give him. But if the borrower doesn't have what to give him, so the property that the borrower sold to a third party, then the lender won't be able to go after the third party and get it from him if it was not written down. That's the difference between a written down loan and a not written down loan. You could get a judgment in the Bezdin that you're owed the money, but that's what's not worth the paper that it's written on. Because if the guy has no money, and so now you have to go to the property that he sold to the third party, you won't be able to get anything out of the third party, because they'll say, look, I didn't know about this loan. It wasn't written down, and it doesn't have a code, there was no way that I would be able to find out about such a thing. I didn't know that that's so the Chazal, they don't require the purchaser to pay for on such a thing like that.
Okay, it's time now, and Shabbat Shalom, and feel better, Lou.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you, Phil.
Okay. See you, Phil. Shabbat shalom
It's
to you.
not that I feel bad. It's just that I have taken eye drops so that my eyes will be prepared for the surgery.
Okay.
When you're having the surgery?
I go for a checkup in 2 weeks, and then they will schedule the surgery then.
Oh, okay. All right, then. See you tomorrow, Matashin.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi Levitt.
I hope you'll be able to see me tomorrow.
Amen.
Okay, bye, Phil. Shabbat shalom. Bye, Alan.
Okay.
Bye, Lou.
Bye-bye.